A common problem in ancient Israel was complaining. Times haven't really changed. Soon the people began to complain about their hardship, and the Lord heard everything they said. Then the Lord's anger blazed against them, and he sent a fire to rage among them, and he destroyed some of the people in the outskirts of the camp. Beware of ingratitude. Israel's desire for meat instead of manna revealed that they'd actually rejected God. You shall eat not 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out your nostrils, and becomes loathsome to you, because you've despised the Lord, who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, Why did we ever come up out of Egypt? Sometimes the greatest critics can be family members, like Miriam and Aaron, who criticized their brother Moses. Then Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he'd married an Ethiopian woman. So they said, Has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses? Has he not spoken through us also? And the Lord heard it. So the anger of the Lord was aroused against them. Some Christians still criticize interracial marriages today. There's no such thing. We're all members of the human race. The only thing the Bible bans is interfaith marriage and business partnerships. Don't be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? God punished Miriam, perhaps because she was the instigator, and Aaron just followed along like Adam with the forbidden fruit. Paul had learned a lesson that the Israelites had not. I'm not complaining about having too little. I've learned to be satisfied with whatever I have. What's wrong with a little complaining? God described Israel's grumbling as wickedness with serious consequences. How long shall this wicked congregation grumble against me? I've heard the grumblings of the people of Israel, which they grumble against me. Say to them, As I live, declares the Lord, what you've said in my hearing, I'll do to you. Your dead bodies shall fall in this wilderness, and all your number listed in the census, from 20 years old and upward, who have grumbled against me. Not one shall come into the land where I swore that I would make you dwell, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. Fault finders will eventually also criticize church leadership. All the Israelites criticized Moses and Aaron. The entire community said to them, If only we'd died in the land of Egypt, or if only we'd died in this desert. If God's reign on earth were a democracy, they would have probably voted Moses out at this point. But it was not. 10 out of 12 scouts were grumblers who chose to undermine God's vision for the future with negative reports. This can happen in Christian churches. So the men Moses sent to scout out the land, and who returned and incited the entire community to complain about him by spreading a negative report about the land, those men who spread the negative report about the land were struck down by the Lord. Israel tested God 10 times, disrespected him, and refused to listen. So what was God's decision about most of that generation? None of the men who saw my glory and the signs I did in Egypt and in the desert, but tested me these 10 times, and haven't listened to my voice, will see the land I promised to their ancestors. All who disrespected me won't see it, but I'll bring my servant Caleb into the land that he explored, and his descendants will possess it because he has a different spirit, and he's remained true to me. When people criticize leaders that God put in charge, they may not be aware that they're also acting against God. Congregational decisions are sometimes helpful when a public reputation is needed, and so brothers select 7 men who are well respected and are full of the Spirit and wisdom. We'll give them this responsibility. Or those with a reputation for honesty must handle finances. When I arrive, whomever you approve, I'll send them with letters to take your gift to Jerusalem. Congregational church polity in every decision often fails in other areas, for which cause both you and all your company are gathered together against the Lord. And what's Aaron that you murmur against him? God sometimes makes it quite plain who his chosen leaders are by miraculous events. The staff belonging to the man I choose will sprout, and I'll rid myself of this constant grumbling against you by the Israelites. The Lord said to Moses, "Put back Aaron's staff in front of the ark of the covenant law, to be kept as a sign to the rebellious. This will put an end to their grumbling against me, so that they'll not die." All these events are lessons for the New Testament church. Now these things became our examples, to the intent that we shouldn't lust after evil things as they also lusted, and do not become idolaters as were some of them. As it's written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Nor let us commit sexual immorality as some of them did, and in one day 23,000 fell. Nor let us tempt Christ as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed by serpents. Nor complain, as some of them also complained, and were destroyed by the destroyer. Complaining causes people to criticize us. Do everything without complaining and arguing, so that no one can criticize you. Live clean, innocent lives as children of God, shining like bright lights in a world full of crooked and perverse people. Ungodly people have wormed their way into our churches, saying that God's marvelous grace allows us to live immoral lives. They tend to murmur and complain, and are consumed by pride. These are murmurers and complainers, walking after their lusts, and their mouth speaks proud things, showing respect of persons to gain advantage. No church member agrees with everything, but for the sake of peace we keep quiet unless there's a serious sin. An undercurrent of criticizing or complaining only destroys. Normally God expects us to hold up our elders' hands, like Aaron and Hur. How are you contributing to church unity? You decide.